By this point, I think we all know that the Manosphere has some very interesting ideas about women, LGBTQ+ people, and other minority groups. The way they get a lot of those ideas across to people is often through a network of strange terminology. It's like their version of academic jargon, except for the part where most of the terms they do borrow from academia are horrifically misused, and the stuff they come up with on their own is just really weird. Over the next 2 episodes, I'll be running down some of the more common terms and turns of phrase and trying to piece together what it is these people think about the world. Welcome to the ABCs of the Manosphere. It's like a series within a series, it's great. Much of the content of these next couple of videos will be lifted from Rational Wiki's Manosphere glossary. It's a pretty exhaustive list of terms, and I'll admit I'm lifting a lot from them, and I hope they're cool with that. But rest assured, I do have some of my own thoughts on these things as well. This video will cover terms from the first half of the alphabet from A to M. Timestamps for each word and their respective trigger warnings will be provided in the description. This can get a little hairy at points. A is for apex fallacy. The apex fallacy is allegedly a logical fallacy which assumes that characteristics of the most visible members of a group are held by all members of that group. The most popular example of this fallacy is commonly used by men's rights activists and is constructed this way. Premise 1, the most powerful people in the world are men. Premise 2, unstated, those powerful people are representative of men. Conclusion, all men are powerful. Of course, this line of thinking is fallacious. The existence of powerful men doesn't inherently mean all men are more powerful than all women. Poor men and men without power clearly exist. Unfortunately for MRAs, the existence of poor and powerless men doesn't negate the success of rich and powerful men, and it doesn't disprove the existence of patriarchy either. Feminists aren't generally ones to stop at the fact that there are more male CEOs than female CEOs. Many of them have been cataloging evidence of patriarchy in all areas of life for about 2 centuries now. This fallacy was coined by one Helen Smith, a friend of A Voice for Men founder and deadbeat father Paul Elam. She derived the apex fallacy from the frontman fallacy, a similar bad idea coined by New Zealand MRA Peter Zorab in the 90s. The term has been linked with men's rights activists since its creation. Perhaps that's why a proposed Wikipedia article on the apex fallacy was deleted from the site. The only sources the article's writers could find on the fallacy were from websites with a clear pro-MRA bias, which basically meant that the article was just astroturfing, and only further proved that the fallacy is a neologism which is totally meaningless in any real-world application. B is for baby rabies? Okay, holy shit. This one comes from the MGTOW.com glossary instead of Rational Wiki. Apparently, baby rabies is the rabid desire of a woman to impregnate herself whether the man agrees to it or not. MGTOW.com doesn't describe the act of having a child as having a child, though. They seem very fixated on the idea of this figure of 216 monthly payments, which the woman will extort from the man because all women are evil, of course, and they just want your money. Apparently, she'll go as far as to pull a discarded condom out of the trash and try and fertilize herself with it. This is known as sperm jacking in MGTOW jargon, and it's an incredibly rare phenomenon, as are most things that MGTOWs like to claim women do all the time. Some MGTOWs have suggested that it's best to pour habanero sauce into a used condom to kill the sperm and burn the woman's reproductive system should they try to sperm jack. Charming bunch. C is for Chad Thundercock. C is for Chad Thundercock. Chad Thundercock is a character created by users of the Red Pill Network, a popular community in the Manosphere that purports to be dedicated to discussion of sexual strategy in a culture increasingly lacking a positive identity for men. More on that next time. Chad is, in many ways, the Christ figure of Red Pill theory. He's the model that other men are supposed to aspire to, but they can never truly be him. He's a natural who can't explain why he's able to get all the sex he wants, but he gets all the sex he wants. Chad's creator, whomever it may have been, gave him a last name, and that last name had to be Thundercock for whatever reason. The entire character sounds like it was created by the kids from Captain Underpants immediately after they learned about what sex is. To me, it's just funny watching the way Red Pill dudes talk about this non-existent person with such envy. They even write quasi-fanfictions about him, and they get pretty sensual. I wonder if the author of this one was suppressing anything while they were writing it. D is for divorce rape. Jesus Christ, these just get better and better. To an MRA, divorce is an inevitability of marriage. It's the mechanism by which a woman can steal a man's house, assets, children, and all the rest. In a tone-deaf move, some in the Manosphere refer to that theft as divorce rape. Never mind the fact that men generally become richer after divorces. It's rape! I tell you, it's rape! I should hope it's obvious that comparing divorce to rape is a pretty shit move. E is for Ephebophilia? Ephebophilia, that's how I'm going to pronounce it. Manospherians are a pretty right-wing bunch. Many of the outspoken ones are varied stripes of far-right libertarians. As such, a lot of them, not all, etc., view age of consent laws as being restrictive of male sexuality. They view attraction to teenage girls, which is technically called ephebophilia, which is totally different from pedophilia, guys, as a natural part of human biology. That argument totally isn't steeped in biological determinism at all. By the way, yes, ephebophilia and pedophilia are different things. However, the distinction between these two that many Manosphereans make is usually only made because there's a lot of baggage to a term like pedophile, and it's usually not because these libertarian types have any sort of aversion to children being treated like sex objects or property. F is for false rape accusation. The belief among MRAs is that false rape accusations are commonplace and are usually perpetrated by women to sabotage the lives of men. They view accusations of rape as being potentially career-ending for many men. This illusion is shattered pretty quickly though. TLDR for this excellent video on the subject by Lacey Green, the FBI estimates that 2 to 8% of accusations of rape are false. This is a relatively low number compared to other crimes. For instance, 10% of accusations of theft are estimated to be false. And it becomes even lower when we consider that the 2 to 8% number includes victims who identified the wrong perpetrator, reports which were thrown out due to recollection errors, and victims who were pressured to recant their accusations. Despite the virtual non-existence of an epidemic of false rape accusations, many rape victims just aren't believed when they come forward. Very, very few victims ever do so in the first place. Some estimates say that the incredibly vast majority of rapes which occur, as high as 994 out of every 1,000, go unreported. I'd say that's a much more relevant issue to be tackling. Also, to that bit about rape accusations ruining men's lives, Donald Trump's president, Brock Turner, served a fraction of the prison sentence that he should have. What's his face from that one fucking movie won an Academy Award? I'll put his name up on screen. It's just not worth it for me to even recall his name. It's ugh. G is for GFTOW. This initialism stands for Go Fuck 10 Other Women, which is pickup artist advice to help men get over rejection. I suppose the idea is that if one woman rejects you, there will be 10 more waiting for you, because women are all the same, and no single woman is ever going to be worthy of your full attention. Go figure. H is for HB. This one stands for Hot Babe. It's often followed by a rating of the attractiveness of the HB in question, for instance, HB 9. To me, that sounds like pickup artists trying to turn women into trading cards or some other sort of collectible fad. I wonder if they'll be getting attack and defense points next. I is for Incel. This is a term which refers to a man who is involuntarily celibate. Many Manosphereans claim to be involuntarily celibate, blaming their lack of sex on females who don't care about nice guys and all that racket. Sexual rejection is quite commonplace among plenty of people, but most of them don't go and blame it on everything but themselves. Often, incels are just dudes who don't want to admit that they have a deep mistrust of women, which is made manifest in the sheer fact that they think red pill theory works and is effective at all. There are a lot of other different manosphere terms that end in the suffix cell, like vol cell, near cell, height cell, and a few others. Funnily enough, none of these are ever applied to women because reasons. J is for just in case, and I'm on MGTOW.com again, I guess? Whatever. Just in case is the guy who keeps waiting in the wings to swoop in and pick up the girl, just in case a myriad of things go awry. Just in case she gets fat, just in case this made-up scenario that would probably never happen happens, just in case she falls off the cock carousel. Jesus, this is awful. This iMessage conversation at the bottom of the page is definitely really real. I'm gonna be honest, I'm a bit scared. K is for Kino escalation. Kino being short for kinesthetic. Kino escalation is a game technique in which a man follows up verbal seduction by touching the woman he's trying to bang without her consent, and then escalating that touching. Ew? Yeah, that's the word, ew. L is for let's just be friends. This is the sentence uttered by a woman which banishes a man to the friend zone for the rest of time. This is bad news for Manosphereans because I guess being friends with a woman without any sort of sex involved is just a foreign concept to them. These guys really don't take rejection well, do they? Finally, for this episode, M is for misandry. Misandry? I'm gonna say misandry. Misandry is hatred of, contempt for, or prejudice against men. Basically, it's the male version of misogyny. MGTOWs and MRAs might be at odds with one another on a few select issues, but their worldview comes together on this issue. They view all of society as being inherently misandrist, especially those evil feminists who are taking control of everything, but are also in need of a safe space because they can't handle the real world. Manospherians are more or less reverse feminists, at least on paper. In practice, they don't really do much in the way of activism, but MRA theory at least slightly resembles the basics of feminist theory. Let me explain. Many feminists posit that misogyny is deeply ingrained in the patriarchal society we live in. On the other hand, men's groups feel that feminists desire a
multi-culty matriarchy,
and that society is misandrist and otherwise biased in favor of women, and that men have no rights anymore. You thought feminists cry misogyny at the drop of a hat? You should see some of these guys. Misandry is a lot like reverse racism. Sure, there are people who hate white people or have contempt and prejudice towards them, but given the fact that white people are a dominant group in society, systemic racism against white people, and I said systemic racism, is an impossibility. So-called systemic misandry is similarly a complete farce, for reasons which I'm not fit to explain and also don't quite have the time to explain in this video format. So, that was the first half of the Manosphere alphabet. It can't get much worse, can it? Can it?